This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most decorated athletes on the planet. 2000 Olympic silver medalist in the first ever Olympic triathlon, 2006 Ironman world champion, which she told me she would never do an Ironman. She still says that. And then, which is even cooler, from the very beginning of CAF, has been coming out the San Diego Triathlon Challenge, has been donating her time to be with our athletes. And then this year, you go to the Paralympics with visually impaired athlete Katie Kelly, representing Australia. You should represent the U.S. Representing
you guys didn't ask me.
We didn't ask. Oh, representing Australia, and you win a gold medal 16 years after you win your silver medal. How was that experience going to the Paralympics?
The Paralympics, just amazing to watch so many awesome athletes, and definitely to be there in Sydney when triathlon debuted, and then get to see triathlon and be in paratriathlon and seeing how hard these athletes are worked. Not just like at each sport, but
Yes.
just the whole process of getting to the
Yes.
Paralympics. It takes a lot of time and dedication, and it's hard. It's not easy. But then to see our sport showcased, because, we know how awesome our sport is.
Exactly.
And to see so many athletes out there competing in triathlon, the best part for me is going to be down the road when you see so many younger athletes saying, well, I watched so-and-so at the Paralympics and I want to be a triathlete.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the coolest thing that the Olympic arena provides us, that people who have never seen triathlon now get to see it.
Well, and like you said, you were in the first ever Olympic triathlon, then you were the first ever Paralympic triathlon.
Yeah.
And after you were in that first Olympic triathlon, and people at that point really didn't know that much about the sport, but Sydney and Australia, triathlon crazy, right? The crowds were probably the loudest, right, that you've ever, in any race you've ever done?
Yeah, by far. It was just, Sydney was just such a fantastic venue, and definitely, the people of Australia fully supported triathlon.
Yeah.
We do have a good history, a short history, because triathlon's such a...
It hasn't been around that long, yeah.
And, just amazing. So, but then the Paralympics just, for me, it's like, it was even better because it was a chance for me to give back. When the Australian coach, Corey Bacon, asked me to guide Katie Kelly, I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Had you ever guided a visually impaired athlete
No,
before?
and it's not just, you're not just their eyes, and I'm also her ears because she's also
hearing
impaired. But, it's those small little things. It's like, that you take for granted, that a little bump in the road when we ride the tandem.
Right.
Plus, she's got to trust me.
Yes, she does.
They've got to have 100% trust in you that you're going to provide them a safe passage out there too. Because, when you're swimming out there in the ocean, it's not like they know there's a turning buoy coming up.
Right.
So hence why we have the tethers. So they pretty much feel the tether pulling on them, and they know that they have to turn in some
and
way.
it's not like you can talk that much when you're out in the water.
No, and we, as a visual athlete, we can see where the finish is.
Right.
And, imagine closing your eyes and swimming in the ocean.
Yes.
And then going, okay, how far are we gone? Time goes so slow when you can see, let alone when you can't see. So
what I love is we started the foundation in 93. You came over here in 1990 or so, I think,
Yes.
something like that. So you were from the very beginning when I first sort of said, hey, we're starting this foundation, and you came out to those early triathlons.
Well,
and you
that's-
probably didn't have a
yeah.
lot of exposure to challenged athletes at that point.
No, definitely not in Australia. I mean, definitely it was when I came to San Diego that, I started meeting some of the athletes. And, I mean, Sarah Reinerson, she
Yes.
is so iconic in so many ways. And there's so many athletes out there that really can look up to her and go, you're the reason why triathlon is where it is today.
No question.
I mean, there's so many athletes out there who have pioneered, and I think I've been lucky that I've seen the sport grow, just like I saw the able-body sport grow.
Yeah.
And you see how amazing these athletes are, and they all have awesome stories that like so are inspiring. And I think that's what the cool thing about the Paralympics for me was, that it was inspiring. I got super nervous.
Sure.
Probably way more nervous because a lot more pressure because, you're racing for somebody else. But, to have that gold medal, it's just an amazing opportunity and I feel very blessed that I was asked to do it.
Yeah. So what's always fascinating to me is you look at, back at the beginning, it was just allowing athletes to participate. It's great. So
It's more than that now.
I know. Yeah, I know, because it wasn't just about participating. You
Yeah.
guys were there for the gold. And
Yeah.
around the world, there's a lot of visually impaired, athletes with their partner who are looking to win that same medal. So it
Yeah.
becomes, the disability goes away a little bit because it's about racing and it's about
it is.
training. And you had to, with Katie, sort of go, okay, Katie, I'm probably going to push you to a level that you might not have gone to before.
Yeah.
Take me through that.
And I think that's probably the hardest thing when, you're such a young sport and then all of a sudden you get thrown into an Olympic program.
Yes.
Because, there is pressure. I mean, you're getting all this assistance because, they want you to win a medal.
Right.
Because, medal means funding, which is great for everyone because it keeps that talent pool and it provides that opportunity that may not be there. So that's one of the great things about being an Olympic sport. So definitely, I think the hardest part, was, teaching these athletes, this is your profession, basically.
Yes.
Because, a gold medal means so much. And even, selection, getting into the Olympics.
Yeah.
So you have to change how you sort of perceive yourself and understand, everyone trains hard. And now you have to train in that professional environment with a lot of pressure. And, it can be tough. It's super tough. So, most people have years and years of experience with that because, they've done it when they're younger and they filter up through, world championships where paratriathlon is such a small in terms of years. It's very young. A lot of these athletes, Rio was life-changing in so many ways because maybe they'll never experience that again, but also going into and dealing with the pressures.
Yes.
And the pressure of what they have on themselves, the pressure that their federations have, the expectation, hey, we've got to put on a good show. This is the first time paratriathlon's being showcased. And those things do creep in your head. And even Katie felt some of the pressure. And I always said to her, look, if you're thinking it, feeling it, or whatever, I've probably thought it, felt it, or I'm thinking it.
So share it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Tell me what
that's sort of cool about being able to share my experience with her. And I think one of the other athletes in one of the other categories, man, Michellie, it's so easy having you. It's like if I have a question, I could just turn around and ask. Katie's got it so easy. But yeah, I think that's probably what I bring to the partnership
Right.
is,
Well, how to
I've
prepare.
been there, done that.
It's one thing
So-
for an age group athlete to work with somebody who's a visually impaired athlete.
Yeah.
But what you bring to the table is, 20 plus years of professional athlete, making sure your bike is in pristine condition, all the transitions, right?
Yeah.
You can win and lose
yeah.
a race in transition. What were the biggest changes you had to make with Katie?
Well, it was great because the Australian coach, he was awesome because if I ever had any feedback about the race or
Yes.
her weaknesses, he was quite happy to change it. And he's like, oh, Michellie, what do you think about this? So we'd have a good discussion.
Right.
And it was nice in that respect. And he'd always say to Katie, MJ's in charge, we're on the race course.
Exactly, yeah.
And, leading into the race, it's like, there's certain things that I like to do. And I'd always say to Katie, you've got to do what you need to do.
To get ready.
To get ready, and I need to do some of the things I need to do. But definitely these are the things we need to do. It's like we need to make sure that we're talking about issues that come up or anything that we're feeling. We need to make sure our communication is open all the time.
Yes.
Not just on the field, but off the field. But we also have to enjoy it. Because the bottom line is we do triathlon because ultimately we love it.
Right.
So, and I think that was the key for us that, we had fun. All the way leading up to the start, we were sort of giggling and laughing and remembering the journey.
Yes.
And it made it it sort of made it relaxing. I mean, we had to swim out to the pontoon before we started the race. And once I got in the pontoon, I was a lot less nervous. But, it was one of those things that, enjoy the journey. And I think a lot of athletes forget that. And, challenge athletes, they have things that able bodies never have to deal with.
Right.
So there's that added sort of
Yes.
stress that they have to deal with. It's like for Katie, if she loses a hearing aid, which she did a couple of times,
Yeah.
or
big
if
problem, yeah.
our tether breaks,
Yes.
another big issue, or someone like Sarah Reinenson, well, what if her bike leg breaks? You know, it's like, so there's all these added things that you have to think about that you don't when you're an able-bodied.
Well, and the other thing is just when we start talking about expenses, and one of the reasons we
Yeah.
do this in terms of donatecaf.com is, you know, if you're a visually impaired athlete, it's not like you just go walk out and go for a ride or run. You
No.
need someone, because you're not in Australia all the time. She needs someone to train with.
Yeah.
She needs travel expenses, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's expensive.
You got to get to the race.
Yeah, and I mean, these athletes are professionals and they definitely need the funding. I mean, you can't do it by yourself, and it's so awesome how the CAF Foundation has so many great supporters, and it is a great cause, and it does make a big difference to so many people's lives.
Did it help you when you started with Katie, the fact that you'd had all that background for basically 20 years with CAF?
Yeah, you know, definitely, you know, understanding what the CAF was about, understanding what challenge athletes face, because, you know, I'd seen it.
Yes.
You know, I'd been a part of the San Diego Triathlon Challenge for a long time, and I have some great friends within the community. So definitely, you know, it wasn't like, you know, out of the norm for me to see these athletes. You know, we have a good community here. So, yeah, definitely understanding that is a huge part of it, and appreciating that. You know, one thing that I said to all the athletes that I talked to who were challenged, I go, look, nobody comes to the start line equal. You know, in some cases, you know, your disabilities are different, but doesn't matter if you're an able-bodied athlete or a challenge athlete.
You're still
Nobody comes to the start line even. So as long as you get out there and do your best, that's all you can ask for yourself.
One of my favorite Katie Kelly stories is, I think she mentioned, I forget if it was Italy or what race it was.
When I made her puke.
When you made her puke, exactly. You were what, a minute behind with a 5K to go?
Yeah.
And what'd you say to her?
I said, you'll regret this if you don't go now. This is our chance. And, you know, she did. You know, she went as hard as she could and puked at the finish line. And, I mean, that's what I love about Katie, though. It's like she'll give everything, like every single piece that she has. And that's what's so cool when you're working with these athletes. It's like they sort of like go that extra mile for you.
Yes. Was the Paralympic gold being able to stand on the top of the podium, hearing your anthem, and when you took the silver back in 2000, you know, you didn't hear your anthem.
No.
Was it almost as special?
You know, it was pretty sweet because a lot of people said, oh, do you get a medal? And, you know, the first couple of times that someone asked that, I go, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I
'Cause you
think,
weren't doing it for that.
I
Yeah.
think it was Bob that told me that I actually, and it
You
was
get a medal.
fairly new because previous, I think, to Rio, the athletes actually who guided
Yeah.
didn't get a medal.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so it was very, very cool. And standing up there having helped somebody else
Yes.
was really, really special.
Love that. Michellie, thanks for always
Thank you.
being such a class act. Michellie Jones. Again, if you have any questions for any of our athletes,
what am I
you can
getting
go
for
to
Christmas, Bob?
Michellie wants to. Exactly. What do you want for Christmas? Another horse?
Shoot. My husband always says how difficult it is because he says I have everything.
You do, because you have Robin.
But
What else did you need?
I can give you a list though.
I love that. And today only, our longtime partner, Aspen Medical Products. They'll match every donation dollar for dollar, doubling the support of our challenged athletes. A huge thank you to Jeff Garth and Dan Williamson from Aspen Medical. Michellie, thank you,
Thank
as
you.
always, for being such a class
Happy
act.
holidays, everyone.